Welcome. This is David Bowles, Human Meme. Today's topic: Scenes from a Pandemic. Well, things have changed dramatically here on the East Coast in the last week or so with the coronavirus, COVID-19, and all of us being on lockdown. We're now officially in worse shape as people than, well, it feels, in the aftermath of 9/11 and Hurricane Sandy. We are not sheltering in place, as some think. I guess that's a Cold War term. No, we're stay at home. That's the mode from now on. Which means we need to stay inside our homes and only go outside for necessities, like groceries, liquor, and medication. Stay at home is a fancy name for a lockdown. This stay-at-home order is currently in effect for New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, and Pennsylvania, and some other faraway states, perhaps even more by now. And I suppose it's a smart way to try to decrease the exposure of all of us to the virus, flatten the curve, as we now say. Or perhaps stay at home is a new turn down the valve operation concerning the exposure to the virus threat. That's what the governor of New York likes to say. And so, my human meme friend, here we sit wondering what happened and when it will all end. And you cannot help but blame the federal government for calling all of this a hoax, for downplaying the threat to life and liberty. But some may think the golden lining in all of this is the arriving retribution for the very people who elected this government-hating government. And those people who did the electing are probably and precisely those people who will be most exposed as the virus threat spreads from the big cities into the country and grows and takes root and destroys all it finds. Hey, you get what you pay for, and you pay for those you elect. And so the economic impact of this pandemic is frightening. There are 26,000 restaurants in New York City alone. And restaurants are the second most popular employer of people in the city. Finance is first. And all of those good restaurant people are now out of jobs. How will those good folks survive? How will they pay the rent? How will they move on to realize their dreams? This pandemic lockdown will go on for at least a couple of more months. Some are thinking 6 months, 18 more months before we are able to stop socially distancing ourselves from each other, before we can recreate a new normal. And it doesn't take a lot of imagination to know that the second we are released from our lockdown, Wave 2 of the pandemic will begin. Wave 2, as people who were not exposed in the first wave are now exposed in the second. And then we'll be locked down again and released, and the third pandemic wave will begin. And that becomes the pattern for the rest of our lives. Now here in our fancy building, all public gathering places, lounges, and access points have been locked. No coming within 10 feet of each other. No more than 3 people in the elevator at the same time. Those are some of our new building rules. And yet, yesterday, there was a woman sitting in the lobby with her laptop, having a Zoom meeting, a conference call, via video, with 3 other people. And she was loud talking and being animated. And you stand there and you wonder at her, with everyone in the building filing past her in and out, and she's sitting right by the front door. You just have to wonder why that woman thought stay at home means having a business meeting in the lobby of the building. Such selfish insanity. And then there are the grocery stores. People are going to grocery stores not because they're hungry, but because they're bored and because they want to get out. And the grocery store is one of the few places they are legally allowed to go while being locked down. I guess the liquor stores, deemed essential services, and I'm serious about that. There are no liquor store lockdowns here. And yes, the liquor stores are open, I hear, to serve the drunks, the addicted, those wishing to repress their immunity response with a shot and a hacksaw. For the sake of sanity, please go home to your apartment, shut the door and lock it. Shelter at home. Get out of the bread aisle. Grocery stores are for feeding hungry people, and liquor stores are for festering the frosted. Those places are not for your cabin fever entertainment. And now I ask you about the PATH train worker who was at the Duane Reade Pharmacy the other day in Jersey City, purchasing a big bundle of toilet paper while whistling up and down the aisles. And it wasn't a quiet whistle either. It was quite elaborate. She was whistling some complicated song. And at the time of the whistling, I was talking to the pharmacist. He was standing 3 feet beyond me and his counter to create 6 feet of social distancing. And this woman walks right past us, whistling, her hot, stale breath all over everyone and everything in her pathway. And as she passed, whistling, she looked right at me, dead-eye, daring me to say anything to her. And I did not, but the pharmacist and I exchanged glances as she continued on her whistling way. Oh, yes, whistling past the graveyard, indeed, and spreading the droplet of disease all over the pharmacist and the Pepto-Bismol. And as you know, teaching has also moved online, virtual, Zoom meetings, Skype meetings, Google Hangouts. And most traditional students do not like online classes, especially if they're paying $50,000 a year for tuition. They can get online teaching anywhere. What they want, and what the elite student is paying for, is their campus, and they want the intimacy of being in a classroom with a teacher and classmates. They want that experience of being in the same room together. And Jana and I have been teaching and tutoring online since 1996. And yes, there are advantages and challenges to virtual online teaching. But that sort of teaching can be done effectively if there is integrity and respect on both sides of the camera. Finally, I am disturbed by what I'm hearing from virologists and epidemiologists who wonder secretly aloud, in somewhat coded speech, in select interviews you read and hear online, in the right publications, about this coronavirus, this COVID-19, and how it is such a perfect virus specimen, and they wonder how it ever was able to come about. And these immunological experts use words like unique and perfect and deadly and clean and mysterious and unknown. And it just makes you wonder, those of us who are listening and paying attention and learning, that maybe, somehow, This might have been an on-purpose thing, a lab-created virus, an invented, weaponized virus that may have started in bats or animals and then purposefully got out of containment or was placed in strategic places on purpose for some political advantage or financial edge. It's all very disturbing, and it may all be science fiction. It may be paranoia, but it makes one wonder. And maybe there's even some admiration in there for the most perfect killing virus that may have been designed. Forewarned is forearmed. Please be careful out there. And never breathe easy again. Thank you for listening. Be a human meme.